What I wanted to explain to you in this video is how I used a Google form in Blendspace and why I used a Google form in Blendspace. Now, in a previous video, I did show to you what I had to do in order to put my Google form in here and bypass my school system's firewall so that students could actually view the Google form. Now, here's what it looks like from the student's view once I fixed it, once I created it as a link instead of a Google form in Blendspace. So this is what my form looks like. Now, you can see I have a lot of short answers and I have some multiple choice, I have some true or false, I have where they can check a couple of different answers. Now, some of you might choose that you want your form to be all multiple choice, all true, false, that sort of thing, and no short answer because then you can actually grade your answers using something called Flubaroo. But what I wanted is I wanted some short answers because I teach English class and because I also wanted to see how thorough some students could actually be in their answers. Now, as I reminded students in their video, they needed to make sure that they filled out all their answers in a Google document or in a Word document first so that when they sat down to fill out the Google form, they could do it all in one sitting and then hit that submit button. Otherwise, their answers wouldn't be saved to the questions and that wouldn't be very good. So this is what it looks like for them. Now, how did I actually access all of their answers? So here's the set of questions right there in my Google Drive, and then here are the responses to those questions. Now, here's what they look like when I pull it up. The reason why I really like the Google form instead of having students fill out a hard copy worksheet is because first of all I could see how quickly a student finished all of the questions, and that would let me know maybe if that's a student I can use as my expert on it because they finished it really quickly and they answered all the questions correctly. It might also let me know if a student took a while to do it and still answered a lot of questions incorrectly. It might let me know that I need to do a little bit of extra work with that student. Or if a student turned it in late, that might also let me know that that student wasn't working the entire 2 class periods that they should have been, and I can really talk to them. It's very useful to have this timestamp here as to when students submitted it. Okay, so what I can see here is this is all in my Google form. I can see all the questions up here, and then I can see all the students' answers in a line underneath of that question, which I really like because sometimes when you're grading worksheets, you don't have a chance to actually look at all the students' answers all in a row for one question. You kind of know, okay, this is a question a lot of students are answering incorrectly, but it's hard for you to actually like visualize all of that at once. What I think is nice about the Google form is you can visualize it all at once. Now you can keep it in the Google form, but I really wanted to export it as an Excel file, and to do that you go to File, Download As, and Microsoft Excel. I don't need to do that right now because I already have it pulled up, I already have it downloaded. Now let me show you what I did with that information. Now that I have all their information here, what I felt was really useful to me is that I made all of the answers up here green that I felt like I didn't really need to go over with students. Or if I did, I only need to go over those questions very briefly with students before we covered the book. Because remember, this whole lesson was actually a lesson that we did right before reading the graphic novel Persepolis. So what I did here for this question and some other questions that follow, I actually went down and any student's answer you see that is bolded, I actually bolded that question because it let me know that that student answered it partially correctly, but they didn't answer the question in its entirety, or they didn't answer it with enough detail for me. Now the students whose answers are bolded and italicized, that's a note to me that it's completely incorrect and it's one I need to make sure that they understand. So what I did up here for this question number 6, you can see I actually highlighted that question yellow. That was an indicator to me that I need to go over that question with my students. It's one that I felt was really, really important out of all of the questions, and because a lot of students answered it incorrectly, I wanted to make sure that we could go over it in class. So what I did is I actually knew who answered it correctly, and I called on those students and asked them to explain what the answer to that question was. And then it really helped me know who would actually know the answer when I called on them, and then it also helped the students who didn't know that answer understand it and they could write it in their notebooks. So again, you can go through all of my questions and you can see anybody whose answer is bolded and italicized didn't answer it enough or at all, or that student's answer is completely incorrect. And any one of them that's just bolded means that they have it partially correct, but they need to have a little bit of elaboration for theirs. And so you can see 16 is one I decided I really wanted to go over because I didn't bold any of these because most of these were actually incorrect. And then you can see I wanted to go over 19, 20, and then this one down here that's red really kind of concerned me. It was an answer that was so incorrect that I really wanted to make sure that I went over that with that student. So again, the reason why I actually decided to use Google Forms and to export it into Excel is that I felt that this allowed me to see all of the data at a glance. And for me, I feel that that's really valuable, especially since I wanted to go over some of these questions with students before we read the book, so that it wasn't something they just did alone. It was kind of like I got to see, all right, what information do they know? What information are they understanding from all of the sources? Who's just kind of giving all the information a cursory glance, and then what information do I need to make sure that I go over with my students. So it actually served as a formative assessment for me. So that's how I did that, and I hope you find that that's really useful for you.